What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen, and I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday, Thanksgiving, all the things you could be thankful for on that day. And to be honest, not even that day, but throughout your life, everybody should give thanks to their loved ones and people who have provided them with things and things they are providing for people. But yeah, this episode will be a very exciting episode for me personally because it's Victory Monday for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, the Jaguars beat the Baltimore Ravens, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into some Bengals, some Rams, and a lot of other teams in this episode. But of course, before we get started, I want to ask for all my viewers on YouTube to please hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to me on a podcast app like Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even Apple Podcasts, please subscribe to the podcast. And always, let's cue it up. Week 12 was very eventful, and let's get started with Sunday recap. The first team I want to talk about will be the reigning Super Bowl champions and a team that would have a top 5 pick if it wasn't for them giving up their draft picks because they were chasing after their Super Bowl. They were so busy looking at the now instead of looking at the longevity of the future. And their offensive line sucks, the Rams does. They are injury prone, and that's the biggest reason why they are 3-8 this season. They are not going to the playoffs, as it's pretty obvious they're not going to. They're on their backup third string quarterback, a guy named Bryce Perkins. Really don't know much about the guy, but know he went to Virginia, second year player. Tried his best to play, to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are on a different level. Jalen Ramsey, I would say on the Rams, he's getting cooked. He's been getting cooked all season, and I think his name is bigger than what his play is. He has given up 100 passer rating to quarterbacks who are throwing at his direction. That is not good at all. He got burnt by the greatest tight end of all time, Travis Kelce, on a route that ended up being a touchdown. When you have one of your best players, or even best player, at this point he's not the best player, one of the best players on their team, when you have one of your highest paid players giving up touchdowns and looking washed, it's never a good sign. The Rams are in a Super Bowl hangover. Right now they're on pace to be like the worst, are pace to have the worst record after winning a Super Bowl. Now let's go to the team they beat in the Super Bowl, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are here. They have arrived. I've been talking about the Bengals for the longest. Even when I started my predictions on my first episode, I said the Bengals will be the team number 2 in this division in AFC North. I still think Baltimore is going to be the team that wins the division, just because I think they're better. They're better coached, and I think they have better players. But it doesn't mean the Bengals are a sorry team. I still think the Bengals can be a playoff team and possibly will be a playoff team. It looks like they'll be able to have the wild card spot, since there's 3 wild cards available, that going to either Buffalo Bills, Miami, depending on who wins that division. I think the Chargers may have a good chance of getting that wild card seat, and then the Bengals. The Joe Burrow is not playing. Play without his number 1 running back and his number 1 receiver. And let's put respect on T. Higgins' name. T. Higgins, people forget, T. Higgins was there prior to Jamar Chase. It's just Joe Burrow got injured, so they didn't have that chemistry, the chemistry they wanted long term. But T. Higgins is the number 1 receiver. It just so happens that he plays with Jamar Chase, who gets all the attention and all the glory. But people forget, T. Higgins had 1,000 yards last season. T. Higgins had 90-plus catches last season. T. Higgins scored in the Super Bowl, okay? And he is the big body receiver. I believe he's like 6'4", 6'5". This dude makes plays after plays after plays. He has 7 catches, over 100 yards, and a touchdown, where he straight up just went up on a dude in the end zone. T. Higgins is a number 1 receiver. If it was up to me, he's 1B to Jamar Chase 1A. This team beat a really good team in the Tennessee Titans, who are well coached. And I can't stand on freaking Titans, okay? The Titans suck. They're horrible. I'm just kidding. They're not horrible. They're actually a well coached team. They're really good. Can't stand them because I'm a Jags fan. But don't worry. We'll be able to play them in 2 weeks. Bengals are here. They have arrived. Zach Taylor should be a Coach of the Year candidate this season. I understand it's not the glory Coach of the Year candidate because their team went to the Super Bowl last year, but considering what the injuries have had this season, this team should be talked about. Let's go to the 49ers. The 49ers are arguably the best team in the NFL. They're 7-4, but they have the number one defense in the NFL. Their defense is number one against the number one against the rush. They're number one in yards allowed a game. They're number one in points allowed a game. This team is statistically number one in every category on defense. This defense has not allowed what as I said, they haven't allowed points in the second half in the last 5 games. Think about that. In the last 5 games, they have not allowed a single point. They had a victory 13-0 over the New Orleans Saints, who are garbage. You might as well tank for a quarterback at this point. But the 49ers, it looks like the Seahawks were going to compete with them in the division. The Seahawks still have a potential to be in a wild card seed, but we have to talk about the 49ers as being arguably the best team in the NFL and definitely a top 2 team in the NFC behind the Eagles. You know what time it is, guys. It's my favorite segment. It's called Best and Worst Performances. And, of course, the best performance is going to have to go to the New York Jets quarterback, Mike White. Let's go, Mike White. I'm just playing. Okay, Mike White had a really good game, guys. But let's be honest. I'm going to give the best performance to the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mr. Sunshines, the guy with the golden locks, number 16, Trevor T-Law Lawrence, baby. Now, Trevor Lawrence had arguably the best performance of his career against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, keep in mind, people, the Baltimore Ravens lead the division. They have an MVP quarterback, and they are a playoff team as of this moment. What Trevor Lawrence did in order to will the Jacksonville Jaguars to win, and I don't think people are talking about how well Trevor Lawrence has played throughout the season, but let's just stick to what happened in the game against the Ravens. Trevor Lawrence was 29-37 at 70+% completion percentage. He had a 129 passer rating. He threw for 321, 75 QBR, and he had 3 touchdowns. And he had two touchdown drives in the fourth quarter to get them the victory. And he also had a 2-point conversion that was super clutch. Trevor Lawrence has arrived. He is showing why he's the number one. He was the number one overall pick back in 2021. He is also, and people don't want to talk about this. He has 6 games with 70+ completion percentage. He also has 6 games with 100+ passer rating. That is more than quarterbacks like Tom Brady. That is more than quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins. That is more quarterbacks like Derek Carr and company. Right? Trevor Lawrence is playing He's playing the highest level of football, especially in the past 3 weeks, where he has 6 touchdowns, averaging 76% completion percentage, and averaging over 100 passer rating. This guy, and he's 2-1 in those 3 games, only losing to the Chiefs, which the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. Trevor Lawrence is and has arrived and is the best quarterback of the 2021 NFL draft. Now, to the worst performance, the guy that I don't want to talk about because I'm a big fan, but it's Russell Wilson. You lost against the Carolina Panthers and their third-string quarterback in Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold outplayed you, Russell Wilson. 19 of what? 35? What is that? 54% completion percentage, Russell Wilson? What are we doing? What are we doing? I hope Russell Wilson wasn't cooking. I hope Russell Wilson didn't cook for his family for Thanksgiving because all the food was burnt. He ain't cooking nothing. He burning the food. Let Russ cook. Let Russ not cook, okay? Russell Wilson has played horribly this season. He only has 8 passing touchdowns. You know who got more passing touchdowns than Russell Wilson? Carson Wentz. And last time, Carson Wentz has 10 passing touchdowns, and he hasn't played in like the last 5 games. Like, that is ridiculous. I don't know if it's just a play calling. I don't know if it's just Russell Wilson just trying to get used to the scheme. And Granted, he didn't have KJ Hamler. He also didn't have Jerry Jeudy. But come on, guy. It's 10 points. 10 points. 10 freaking points. And when you have a defense that is number 2 in the NFL in points allowed, this is ridiculous. They're averaging 14 points a game. Come on, Russ. Come on, Russ. You got to do better. You got to do better. Russell Wilson going to get my worst performance from Week 12. It's because Russell Wilson right now is looking like a quarterback who's old and washed. And because the Broncos signed him to a long-term deal, they are stuck with this guy. My upset of the day is going to go to the Cleveland Browns with their victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are not good. They play in a horrible division in the NFC South. They're 5-6, still leading the division. If the playoffs were to start today, they're going to have a whole playoff game. They have a top 5 quarterback all time on their roster. They have a really good roster. This is why I think what the Browns did. And the Browns, there's not a few teams in the NFL that I feel like they play really good football. But like I say, John Madden said this, your record is what you are, what your record says it is. And the Browns are 4-7. But what Jacoby Brissett did in his final game as a starter for the Cleveland Browns was amazing. He had led a 2-minute offense to be able to go down and tie the game up. A great one-handed catch by David Njoku to send the game to overtime. And then when it came to overtime, he got the ball through a 40-plus yard pass to Amari Cooper to set up the touchdown by Nick Chubb. Jacoby Brissett was so happy. You could see the emotions in the post game. And this is what he had to say.
But in the words of Tom Brady, that was awesome.
I mean, how can you not like the guy? Okay? They say he's a great leader in the locker room. They say he's a great teammate to have around. Kudos to Jacoby Brissett. You have, gave the Browns some great moments this season through your 11 games stint as a starter. Thanks for watching and listening to the Football Corner Podcast. Podcast episodes will be dropped on Mondays and Fridays, as well as YouTube videos on Mondays and Fridays. You could click the link in my description in order to follow the social media links to my podcast social media pages. And also, you'll be able to stay up to date on new drops, new takes, and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time.